I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to put upward pressure on rates because there's now a premium on capacity, especially as it relates to the tanker industry. We've seen tanker rates get close to almost $500,000 a day. That is just being driven by the fact that people want oil; they're going to have to pay to get it, the ripple effect really for my world, because I cover marine shipping, air freight guys, and also the folks here in the U.S., the railroads and trucking companies. The biggest impact is going to be the inflationary aspect and the higher diesel prices. When diesel prices rise significantly, it tends to weigh on margins because there is a lag effect on the fuel surcharges that they charge their customers. So you're going to see margins getting pressed, and also the 1-2 punch from that is going to be if consumers have less discretionary money to spend on goods, that means there's going to be less stuff shipped around. So there's really kind of a ripple effect going on with the events unfolding in the Middle East.
If disruptions persist, do you think we could see supply chain bottlenecks similar to 2021 to 2022? And if so, which sectors do you see will be falling first or will be affected first?
I don't think you're going to see what we saw during the pandemic, because at the end of the day, the biggest impact really is the crude and energy markets. So container liners that are leaving Asia are still going to go to southern California to unload their goods. The only time it's going to become a problem is that if this is really prolonged and just people just don't have the energy to manufacture stuff. But let's hope we don't get there.
What about vessels? With vessels stalled and rerouting around choke points, how sharply are freight and tanker rates going to rise in your view?
My colleague Ken Lowe out of Singapore, he just put out a note on the Bloomberg terminal earlier today, and he was calling for over $500,000 a day in time charter rates. Again, what it's not so much the diversion, it's the kind of the demand. So people are willing to pay up high. A lot of insurance companies are no longer insuring in the region. So the Strait of Hormuz is pretty much, the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz is pretty much shut down no matter what the Iranians do.
So Lee, if I'm a FedEx pilot, I'm not flying anywhere near that airspace, so I'm going to fly around it. Isn't that going to raise costs for everybody?
Yeah, and so like the ripple effect, after the ocean markets, probably the air markets are most impacted. A lot of the airspace in the Middle East has been shut down. A lot of commercial flights are no longer going in and out. And what the commercial airlines do is, where we put our luggage, they also take cargo. So that capacity is not available, and it is going to impact FedEx, UPS, and DHL. DHL is more exposed to the Middle East than the other two. But I think right now it's kind of a de minimis impact to UPS and FedEx. The real question is just how long does this go for? Is it going to be days, weeks, or months? If it's just going to be weeks, the impact to earnings probably won't be that significant for the FedExes and the UPSs of the world, and slightly more for DHL.